ćemo se ipak dobro razumjeti. Po prvi puta se javljamo kolektivno, javljamo se sa Fakulteta za menadžment u turizmu i ugostiteljstvu iz naše jedinice Zabok. I ovdje iza mene su studenti koji su upravo pisali kolokvij, to su studenti 4. godine, oni će uskoro evo u svijet rada i oni slušaju predmet camping management. Evo, pozdravit ćemo vas svih iz Zaboka, je li tako? Ćao! Dobrodošli na naš meetup, gospodine Bradbury.
Hi, it's nice to be here.
So we have today a very, very special guest. He is an Englishman born in Manchester who lives in Croatia and who, besides not only living, not only making a vacation in Croatia, but he established the most important portal, Total Croatia News, and spread the beautiful news from Croatia to the whole world. Well, Mr. Paul Bradbury, are you really the Englishman who loves Croatia?
I think I've been to many places, and I've lived in 10 different countries. I've been to 96 different countries, and I've now lived in Croatia for 18 years, which is more than 1/3 of my life. I've been living in Croatia, and it is a country of many problems. It is a country of many complaints. It is a country of immense beauty, and I would say it has the best lifestyle in the world. And after 18 years, honestly, there is nowhere else I would rather live. I think it's a fantastic country, and I think for young people in Croatia who think that this is a terrible country and there's corruption and there's no jobs, all we need to do is to change how people think and to change how people appreciate what they have around them, because what you have around here is incredible. And I see a big change coming to Croatia in the next 5 or 10 years because of the way the world is going. And I think the potential for Croatia and Croatian tourism is going to be amazing. And I'm really, really happy to play a small part in that story and to tell that news, because you have amazing stories here that are unique to Croatia, and we tell those stories every day. And it's a real pleasure to be here. You really do have an amazing country.
I see your beautiful smile here. How happy!
Yeah, I'm happy. I mean, I live in Croatia. Of course, I'm happy. Yeah.
Next slide, please. You said you have been traveling 95 countries and lived in 10 countries before coming to Croatia.
Yeah, so I'm from England, but I started really traveling, and when I was 19, I went to South America for 6 months. I took a one-way ticket to Venezuela, and I traveled around for 6 months. And I'm still trying to figure out what I will do with my life, because I'm 52. I look about 70, but I'm 52. And I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing with my life. But my first job was I was a mushki čistačica in a hotel. I was cleaning hotel in Munich, in Germany. I worked as a humanitarian aid worker in Somalia, in Rwanda, in Siberia. I taught English and French and German in Japan. So I've done lots of different things. And then I came to Croatia in 2002. I bought a house in Jelsa on Hvar, and I just fell in love with the place. I met the beautiful woman in the library in Jelsa, Miranda, who's now my wife. We have 2 wonderful children, 2 girls, 2 teenage girls, so they're problematic, but they're great. And it's just a great place to live. It's not an easy place to make money. It's not an easy place to survive, but let me tell you about meeting a school friend of mine 25 years after I left school. I was living on Hvar. I wasn't earning very much money. And when we were 15 years old, we shared a room together at school. And I was in a boarding school in an internat. And he's become very successful in England, and he's contacted me after 25 years and says, I'm coming to Hvar to go sailing for 2 weeks with my family. Let's meet. And I was a bit nervous because I'm not very successful. I live on Hvar and I do my thing. And he's a very successful accountant, has a big house, has everything else. And we got there and he came and we met each other for the first time in 25 years. We had lots to talk about. He told me about his life in England, where he works in London, but he can't afford a house in London. So he lives 1 hour outside London because the prices are much cheaper. So at 6 o'clock, so 6 o'clock every morning, Monday to Friday, he's on the train, which is very expensive, to go from his house into London, 1.5 hours, and then 1.5 hours to go home. And on Friday night, he's exhausted, he's very tired, but he goes out with his wife for dinner, but they must get a babysitter and pay about £100 for the babysitter. And then on Saturday, something with the kids, and then Sunday, something, and then back again. And then every year he can go sailing for 2 weeks on Hvar. And he said, you know, my life is great, but it's a lot of work. But I love coming to Hvar. And I said to him, I don't have your money. I don't live in a big house, but I can go sailing on Hvar 52 weeks of the year. And so the really big thing that people here miss, I think, is you have an incredible lifestyle. The lifestyle here is, I mean, Croatians who go abroad, they get shocked that things are not as laganini as they are back in Croatia, and it's a real advantage, I think, to living here.
Oh, this is a great message. Can we go to the next slide, please? Well, we have been talking about sailing and about the lifestyle, and you said we have a wonderful lifestyle. Do you think we take a lot of things for granted in Croatia?
I think I think you do, and I think that's a natural thing. I think everybody around the world, wherever they are, they take things for granted because they don't see what they have around them. And I'm constantly walking around Croatia going, that's amazing. I've never seen, that's incredible. And people just don't see it at all. And so, you know, let me tell you about the island of Hvar, where I lived in Jelsa. And
could you please just a little bit slower? We have 60 students from Kirk High School also with us.
Hello, Kirk. All right, I will speak a bit slower. Okay, so on the island of Hvar, I started to look around Hvar and to see what there was to find, and I was amazed to find that the oldest public theatre in Europe was on the island of Hvar. I was amazed to learn that we have a UNESCO World Heritage Site on the island of Hvar. I was amazed to learn that we have, I think, the oldest olive tree in Europe, I think, 2,500 years old on the island of Hvar. Everywhere I went, I found amazing things. And local people don't necessarily appreciate this. And there was one experience which maybe explains this the best. So I have a friend who is a very successful Croatian tour guide. He has his own business. Mm-hmm. And he was taking some very rich clients from New York around Hvar. They went to an olive grove to look at the olive trees and the olive oil and have lunch. And this guy from New York, he saw this lemon tree. And he looked at this lemon tree with these lemons on. And he said, is it okay if I go and pick a lemon from the tree? And my friend said, pick 10 if you want, no problem. And so he picked a lemon from the tree. And he was the big smile on his face. And at the end of the week, he said to my friend, this was the most amazing tour ever. But the highlight, the best thing that I did in the whole week was to pick a lemon from a tree, because I live in New York and I've never seen a lemon tree before.
Wow.
And that experience was incredible. And my friend then understood that these natural experiences, these everyday experiences, picking olives, picking grapes, all these things in nature, he can sell for very, very big money, because people in big cities have never seen these things. When I moved to Croatia in 2002, there was an English woman on the same island, on Hvar, and it was November, and we were in the shop, and she wanted to buy tomatoes, and the guy said, "We don't have tomatoes because it's not the season." And she said, "What do you mean?" And because in England we have tomatoes every day of the year, yeah, but the taste is terrible. And one of the incredible things about Croatian food, which people take for granted, is that when some things are not always available 12 months a year, like asparagus is only available in March, or mandarins come in November. So, but when they come, they are incredible quality, incredible freshness, incredible experiences. And this is something that we don't have in England anymore, because everything is available, but the quality is really, really low. And so the potential for Croatia to develop itself as a gastronomic, a gourmet destination based on these incredible ingredients and freshness it's really, really powerful. It doesn't cost very much, but you can sell it very high.
Thank you. Next slide, please. So you are living in Croatia. First, you lived in Hvar, and I read that you're now living in Varaždin.
No, I'm now living in Zagreb. I moved to Zagreb 3 months ago. So I was in Jelsa for 13 years. Beautiful place. I met my wife and had a wonderful. It's the best place in the world to bring up small children, because you have a very safe environment. Both my children learned to swim in the Adriatic at the age of 2 or 3. I was 29 when I learned to swim in a swimming pool in Manchester. Not quite the same. There is a very big sense of community. So you'll always find the grandmother is looking out for and so on. And so it's a very, very safe place to bring up children. And then I moved to Varaždin. We moved about 5 years ago. And that was also a very, very nice experience. And now we're in Zagreb. So we're here for 3-4 months. And I must tell you that Zagreb is an incredibly fantastic city. It's really changed in the last 5 years. Both my children were born in Rijeka, by the way. Wow. So yeah, KBC Rijeka. So we have a connection there. Yeah. But what are the main advantages? I mean, the main advantages are safety. Mm-hmm. I know lots of Australian Croatian diaspora who choose to bring up their families in Croatia, not in Australia, because of the safety. And this is the only country I've been to in Europe where girls can walk around at midnight in the capital city and there's no problem whatsoever. And this is one more thing that Croatians take for granted.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think it's an incredibly safe city. I think the natural beauty of Croatia, the park. Zagreb has got parks everywhere. You walk around the city, it's fantastic. The nature is great. The lifestyle, everything is much more relaxed than it is elsewhere. And so, especially in Dalmatia. So in Dalmatia, my experience is that you get into this lifestyle in Dalmatia, and everything is just tomorrow, sutra, and everything is kind of relaxed. You go to a meeting, you stop, you come 20 minutes late, everything is fine. And it's very difficult when you're in that situation to go back to England, where everything is like this. And so I say that living in Dalmatia is a little bit like having malaria when you get bitten by a mosquito, because once you get malaria, you never quite recover. It all stays in your blood forever. Once you have the experience of living in Dalmatia, it's the same thing. It changes you forever, but in a good and a relaxed way. So I would say that safety, I would say that quality of life, I would say food, I would say nature, and yeah, there's really, I don't see many disadvantages of living in Croatia. Croatians like to complain a lot.
Next slide, please.
Okay.
I just want to ask you, before we go to complaints, you experience island living and working, which is nowadays very popular. Do you really think it is possible to live on a remote island and work and make a living? Do you see this possibility?
I see it. I think it's getting easier and easier, because now with the internet, with connectivity, with digital nomads, with remote work, I think working on places like Hvar or working on a boat are much easier than they were 1 year ago, and they will be much easier next year and the year after. It will get easier and easier. I think living on an island is an amazing experience. For you to successfully and to happily live on an island, I think you need to have your mindset in a certain direction, because it can get really closed. If you're a foreigner, you are not necessarily welcomed by the local community, because they are quite closed. If you're from Zagreb and you live on an island, you're not always welcomed. But I think if you can get the mindset, then it's an incredible experience. But now things are much easier than they were a few years ago, because now everything, you can get products that you couldn't get before. The shops now are fuller than they were before. There is more choice on the islands than there were before. And if you live on somewhere like Hvar, you can always go to Split. It's 2 hours or 1 hour, 1.5 hours.
I wanted to ask you about the difference between UK and Croatia, because UK is a beautiful country. We all love it, and we all learn English. And when you say you have really to work hard to afford the Hvar experience, and the Hvar experience, I mean living in Hvar. Is it really so? I know that a lot of Brits are very movable. They are living all the world around.
Well, what's interesting in Croatia is it's not very common for people here to move within Croatia, and in England it is very common to go from one city to another city, a job, and that's very common. The UK is, you think it's a beautiful place. I have different experiences. I enjoy it when I go and visit, but just to get through life, everything is very expensive. You have to work very hard. And there's a lot of problems in the UK, especially now after Brexit. There's some real problems now. And, I know that Croatian people love going to England because they're all learning English, and, that they learn about London and all these different places. It's a beautiful place to visit. It's a very difficult place to live, I think. And there's a lot more pressure. People say in Zagreb, compared to Hvar, there's a lot more pressure. And there is, the pace of life is quicker here. But I come back to that thing of lifestyle, and there is nowhere better. And this is one of the things Croatian people take for granted. And then when they leave and they go to Ireland, or they go to Sweden, or they go to Germany, then they start to realize the things that Croatia has. And it's very interesting. I have one of my writers, Nikolina, she's from Rijeka, and she left Total Croatia News in 2017, and she went to live in Ireland. And she came back 3 months ago to live in Rijeka again, and now she's working with us once more. And she wrote a really nice article about the 5 things that she missed about living in Croatia. And the first thing that she missed most of all was Blitva.
What?
Blitva.
Blitva.
Yeah.
Okay.
He says, you know, I didn't realize I loved Blitva until I went to Ireland and I just couldn't get it. And then when I came back and I had Blitva, it was just amazing. The second thing that she really missed, that she was surprised by, was the burra.
Burra.
Yeah,
Okay.
just the idea of the burra. And then I forget what else. Then it was Malvasia, because all the wines are sort of French or German, and she missed that kind of thing. And then she missed motorways, autoput, because in Ireland they have them, but you know, and stuff. And then there was a special type of tea that her mother made that she couldn't. So it came back to that homemade products and stuff like that. So it's always interesting when people leave a country, what do they miss?
Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah, you mentioned already that we are sometimes very critical and negative.
Yeah.
And but we have a lot of success stories in Croatia. You told and you explained, and you also write a lot of successful stories from Croatia.
Yeah,
Here are
I mean,
only some.
well, it's a very, and this is one of the things that that fascinates me about Croatian people, because you have a very small country and you have incredible success stories for such a small country. We're not just talking about football or the Olympics, but in every single sector, there's a Croatian success story. But the one thing I've learned is that as soon as you start to show that you are successful in Croatia, everybody wants to attack you. Everybody wants to destroy you. Everybody wants to put you down. And so there is a saying which is very, very true, which is a Croatian can forgive you everything except success. And because of that, successful Croatian people do not always want their story to be told, and because they don't want to be attacked. And so all the stories that you hear are very, very negative stories, or they're attacking and everything else. And so the perception is that everything is terrible in Croatia, because all you hear is bad news. And so what we decided to do is to try and celebrate the success, the small success stories, you know. And I'll give you one example. There was a guy in Koprivnica. He was 20 years old, and he had a passion to make knives. So he was a kovač, a blacksmith. And he was 20 years old, and he was the first person in Croatia to get entrance to some association, some Udruga of knife makers in America. Okay. And so we did, and he had very, very high quality stuff. He made everything himself. And so we did an interview with him, and people were like, wow, this is amazing. And it was in the national media. He was on the national television, on RTL and on HRT, and everybody said, this is incredible. This is a really good story. And I was like, Croatia has these stories in every single village, but nobody is telling these stories. And if we can start telling these stories, then the students behind you will start to understand a bit more that actually there is a lot of positive stuff happening in Croatia. And so what we're trying to do is to try and tell those stories. It's great to have remats. It's great to have Infobip. But we have amazing stories on a much smaller level all over this country. And if we can start to connect that positive energy, then we start to change the way people think, and we have a better country.
Thank you, Paul, for bringing us awareness of these beautiful small stories that makes our life in this country better. Could we go to the next slide, please? You explain us what are you doing with your portal, but how is it a passion? Is it a passion that also in Croatia is so important, and that we're showing this passion in life and death? Is it a passion also to run such a portal? needed?
Well, it doesn't make much money, so it has to be something. Yeah, it is. I love what I do, and I have a great team. I have a mixture of Croatian people writing for us, some foreigners who live here, and some diaspora, some people who and we have different contributors. Everybody works amazingly. We have a really good team spirit, and I just love being able to tell stories, because one of the things is that Croatia has so many amazing stories and nobody is telling them in English. And so I'm just going around the country meeting amazing people, writing about amazing things. So, like, for example, today this morning I was at the press conference for Advent in Zagreb. They announced it all, and I got some interviews there.
Advent.
Next week I'm going to Vukovar for the November 18 parade. We're going to go to Iločki Podrum and to film the story of Iločki Podrum. We're going to Baranja to do all the wine roads of Baranja. We're going to go to Vučedol, which is the oldest civilization, back there. Vinkovci, the oldest inhabited town in Europe. 8,300 years old. Osijek is just a really, really interesting town. And so that's just in the east of Croatia. And there are so many interesting people there to meet, and personalities. And all we do is write about it, and people are amazed. They're, wow, what a great country. And we have, but this thing about in life and in death, Croatian passion is the best.
Please explain.
Okay, so I was July 2018 was the World Cup.
Yes.
And Croatia beat England in the semi-final. Okay, but we had 550,000 people on the streets of Zagreb to welcome home their heroes from Russia. And it was an incredibly emotional day. It was a really a privilege to be here to watch that. And then 5 days later, Oliver Dragojevic died. And they had all these boats going from Split to Vela Luka to take his body to be buried in his hometown of Vela Luka on Korčula. But just the passion of the football, life, and the death of Dragojevic. No country in the world does passion better than Croatia, but their passion is only about sporting success and death. If it's about change, political change, there is no chance to get 550,000 people on the streets to say, we want a new government or we want to change the law. That doesn't happen. Croatians will prefer to sit in a cafe and complain. And if they can complain for 2 hours over a coffee, then they will go home and nothing changes. If they went and they actually went onto the streets to try and change, then things would change. But that passion is only for life and death.
But we have to learn that to put this passion also in business, in our ideas, in the transformation. And thank you for sharing with us these things. Could we go to the next slide, please? Yeah, now we have a passion for tourism. Here are the students who will devote their life to tourism. How do you see Croatian tourism? How do you think we should brand it? What we are already excellent in and should maybe promote it better?
I think at the moment Croatian tourism is terrible.
Oh.
I think it's really terrible, and it's embarrassingly terrible. I think if you look at what we have just paradise here. We have amazing islands, amazing coast, amazing sea, amazing food, amazing nature, amazing authentic experiences all over the country. And all we do is get millions of people to come to the coast, to sit on a beach and to destroy the coast slowly. And we go This is a successful season because we had 20 million people, and there is no strategy, there is no planning. And I think if we continue to do that, then our coast will, in 10, 20 years, will not be that attractive, and then we have nothing left. So I think that what we need to do is we need to look at what else does Croatia have.
Next, please. So this is something that you mentioned as a good example.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about Rwanda. So Rwanda, I don't know how much you know about Rwanda. It's very close to me because in 1994 there was a genocide, and this was a country of 7.5 million people, so almost twice as big as Croatia in population. And in 100 days, they killed 800,000 people. So 11% of the population in 100 days. Okay, and it was two tribes, Hutu versus Tutsi, a bit like Serbs versus Croats. And it was one of the poorest countries in the world. And there was no hope. There was no sea, no Adriatic Sea, no 1,000 islands. It was just there, and it had all these problems. And 25 years later, it's now in the top 10 countries in the world for luxury tourism. It is the cleanest country in Africa. Plastic bags have been illegal in Rwanda for more than 10 years. We talk here about single-use plastic straws. Plastic bags in the whole country have been illegal for more than 10 years. Very poor African country. If you need blood for an emergency operation, they deliver blood by drone within 30 minutes anywhere in the country. This is a but what they did with tourism was incredible, because Rwanda is a small country that has no tradition of football at all, none. They've never been to the World Cup. They've never had a single player play in England in the Premier League, nothing. Croatia, World Cup final, Luka Modric, all the other players. Rwanda, nothing. Rwanda Tourist Board signed a contract with Arsenal Football Club in London, in the Premier League. I think it was £30 million for 4 years to promote tourism in Rwanda in England. They were the first country in the world to have a tourism partnership with the Premier League in England. They had Visit Rwanda on their shirts. They had lots of different promotions. Arsenal came to Rwanda, everything. And those shirts were seen 35 million times a day around the world. So in terms of visibility and promotion, incredible. And they have nothing to do with football. And they're a much poorer country than Croatia. And here are we with Modric and with the World Cup and everything, and we do nothing.
We didn't use it properly, you mean?
We haven't used it at all.
Yeah. Next slide, please. You are professionals in telling the stories. What could be the success stories for Croatian tourism? What should we tell to the world?
The success stories, for me, the success stories are the stories that tell authenticity, that show the uniqueness of Croatia. So we have this stupid slogan, Croatia full of life, which means nothing. What does that mean? I mean, if you walk along the coast of Dalmatia in January, like Makarska or Omiš or places like that in January, and you say Croatia full of life, it's totally dead. There's nothing there. Okay, so and it doesn't mean anything. For me, my slogan would be Croatia, your safe, authentic lifestyle destination. 3 messages of safety, authentic experiences, and lifestyle. So for me, the success stories in Croatian tourism are things that work for sustainable tourism. So things that, are not destroying the environment, that are using natural products, that are working with local businesses, and are promoting that kind of authentic lifestyle. And there are many, many examples of these things.
We have on the slides put something, so maybe next slide.
Okay.
Yeah.
What have we got?
This is what we are talking about, you know.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, this thing about accidental tourism is something that I'm currently in a lawsuit, a tužba with the Croatian National Tourist Board, because they don't like what I write when I criticize them. And I've called them the kingdom of accidental tourism, because everything that we do at the moment, in my opinion, is going to happen anyway. So my question is, if there was no Ministry of Tourism and if there was no National Tourist Board, would we have the same number of tourists this year, more or less? I really don't think there's anything that they're doing that's, people are coming here because it's easy to drive to from Germany, and because Spain was closed, and everything's about the coast. We have so much opportunity to develop other things year round, and now we have this this whole new opportunity of remote work with digital nomads and so on. This is a huge opportunity for Croatia, and already we're seeing the results. So we now have a project with Zagreb Tourist Board called Zagreb Digital Nomad Week and the Zagreb Ambassador Program, and we've been working with Dubrovnik. We had 2 projects. We won 4 international awards. Zagreb last month was named as the 5th most attractive city for digital nomads in the world to come and work. People are coming here and they're going lifestyle, safety, English spoken, great internet, natural beauty, food, accessible, affordable, friendly people. This is a great lifestyle place to come. And the other option that we have that we're not doing anything with is medical tourism. We have some of the world's best medical tourism facilities: dental care, cosmetic surgery, stem cell treatment.
Yes.
Okay. So sorry, I'm going a bit ahead of myself. Sorry. So
no,
here.
Okay.
So here, Bagatin is a clinic in Zagreb, and I was with Bagatin Clinic in Berlin 2 years ago, and they were named the best cosmetic surgery clinic in the world. Sveta Katarina is one of the leading hospitals of the world. Svietlost is a very it's the best in the region for eye surgery, and so people like Donald Trump's ex-wife came there and stuff like that.
Ivana Trump was there, right?
Trump, yeah, exactly, yeah, all that. And we have great quality, and we have low prices, and we also have a lot of wellness tourism. I don't know if your students know this, but organized tourism in Europe began in Croatia in 1868, and it was based on winter tourism, and it was based on the island of Hvar, when they founded the Hvar Health Society, and all the sick people from the Austro-Hungarian Empire from Vienna would come down to this island Hvar, which they called it the Austrian Madeira. That was the name that they called Hvar because of its nice climate. Okay, so we actually started organized tourism in Europe in Croatia, and medical tourism was a big thing 150 years ago, and now 150 years later, we don't have much medical tourism, and we have 0 winter tourism.
It's a big chance, right?
Yeah, people were smarter 150 years ago. Yeah, and like today, I was with Advent in Zagreb. Advent in Zagreb 10 years ago was nothing. Nobody had ever heard of it. 5 years ago, it was named as the #1 Christmas market in Europe for 3 years. Today, after just 10 years, it is one of the most known winter events in Europe. So that's how, the Zagreb Tourist Board have got a very good strategy. And I work with the Zagreb Tourist Board, and we're doing some really amazing things together. But that's how you can actually take something from nothing and build it into something with a strategy, with a plan. But Croatian tourism in general doesn't have any strategy, and it doesn't have any plan, apart from the sun will shine next summer, people will come and sit on the beach, we will count numbers, and that's it.
So we mentioned digital tourism, the digital tourists and our digital nomads as one of the chance. I also would like you to maybe, just for our students, to say who are digital nomads according to you, or who will be the digital nomads in 5 years?
This is the biggest opportunity Croatia has ever had. It's as simple as it's the biggest opportunity Croatia has ever had. And basically what's happening is, before the pandemic, there was a number that by 2035, there would be 1 billion people in the world working remotely. This was before the pandemic, okay? The pandemic has changed everything, as you know. And what's happened in the last 12 months is people were forced to work at home. They had to work at home. And, and maybe they didn't like it, but they had to. But some people liked it. And some people actually thought, I don't want to get in the car and drive 1 hour to work anymore, when I can do things by Zoom and look after my family and all that. And so we have an incredible number of people now in America and places like that saying, I will not go back to the office, and they're quitting. And so the power between the employer and the employee is changing. And now the employee is much more powerful than the employer. And now the employee is saying, I want to work at home. Or I want to work at home 4 days a week or 3 days a week. And so basically now companies are realizing that if they want to keep their best people, they have to be flexible, okay? So now there is an opportunity for many, many more people to work remotely or to work from home, okay? So what's happening is you have two situations. You have somebody who goes to the office, either at home remotely or goes to the office, and when they leave the office, they go home, and maybe they want to go home to the village they're from to see their friends and their family. But more and more people want to leave the office when they close their laptop, and they want to go home to lifestyle. They want to be able to leave the office and go for a walk down Stradun in Dubrovnik and have a cocktail watching the sunset, or to go through Diocletian's Palace, or to go through Maksimir in Zagreb, or whatever. And as long as the internet connection is the same, and they have the internet connection and the time zones, then they can be anywhere in the world. And so suddenly, it's not about living in a big city anymore, it's about living in a lifestyle place. And Croatia is the #1 country in Europe for lifestyle. And so why wouldn't you spend 3 months living in Croatia, working in Croatia, and then just exploring? And we had a really, really interesting project in Dubrovnik in April. It was the first of its kind in the world. And we worked with the city of Dubrovnik and with the Dubrovnik Tourist Board. And we brought 10 digital nomads from all around the world, from Japan, from Spain, from Estonia, from all these different places. And we gave them free accommodation for 1 month. And Monday to Thursday, they did their regular jobs online. On Friday, we had a workshop every Friday where it was called a design thinking workshop, where we brought members from the community of Dubrovnik, from the city of Dubrovnik, from the tourist board of Dubrovnik, and these digital nomads. And we looked at 6 different parts of the tourism experience: arriving in Dubrovnik, staying in Dubrovnik, working spaces in Dubrovnik, and that social life, everything else. And we looked at the problems through the eyes of local people, the community, through the eyes of the tourist board, through the eyes of the city, and through the eyes of the digital nomads. And together, we co-created together over 4 weeks a strategy how Dubrovnik could improve its offer for digital nomads in the future.
Great idea.
And the results, let me just tell you, the results, I can send you the case study, but the result was amazing, because at the final presentation, one of the nomads gave the presentation, and he said, okay, to start with, I'm going to put Dubrovnik into Google Images. And we are going to look and see the results for Google Images for Dubrovnik. There were 30 pictures, and all 30 pictures were exactly the same. They showed one thing, the old city of Dubrovnik, as your slide does here. Okay. And he said, I always thought that Dubrovnik was just the old city. I knew it was expensive. I knew it was a 2-day destination, and that was it. And now I've been living here for 1 month, and I've only been to the old city twice. It's very beautiful, but my Dubrovnik is Lapad.
Yeah.
And there I have my beach, I have my park, I have my cafe, I have my local bakery, I have my life, I have my community. Yeah. And so every weekend we gave them an excursion. They went to Korčula, they went to Ston, they went to Mljet, they went to Konavle. And in the presentation, they said, after 1 month in Dubrovnik, when I arrived, I thought this is a 2-day destination. And now after 1 month, I am not ready to go home. I need to stay longer than 1 month because I haven't seen everything yet. Because Dubrovnik is beyond the walls. It's what's outside the walls. It's the experiences. It's the authentic experiences.
This is fantastic. We have to little bit sorry to run because the time is running out.
Okay, sorry. Oh, right.
It's okay. Fantastic. We mentioned digital nomads. We mentioned the medical, and the third I heard from you. The third chance is the food. So just briefly, what do you think we could do with our food? How to promote it? How to brand it?
Well, Anthony Bourdain, a very world-famous foodie, came here in 2011, and he did this incredible project, a program for called No Reservations for the Travel Channel, and he was absolutely blown away by Croatia and Croatian food. And he said, "We have world-class food, world-class wine, world-class cheese. If you've not heard," he's actually said, "if you've not heard about Croatian food, you're a fucking idiot." That's what he said on camera. And he said, "I'm a fucking idiot. I didn't know about this," right? And I watched this thing and I was like, wow. Because Croatia doesn't have a national cuisine. If you say, what is Croatian cuisine? It doesn't really exist. You have Istrian cuisine, you have Dalmatian cuisine, you have Slavonian cuisine, you have continental cuisine. But what you have is authentic, amazing ingredients. And these things change through the seasons. When it's asparagus season, you know it's March. You know, when it's this, and so you go around the country and you have all these different experiences. This is phenomenal. We have 130 indigenous grape varieties in Croatia. This is where Zinfandel comes from, right? So I have friends in the wine industry. They come to Croatia. They go, "This is incredible. Everything else in the world these days is the same. It's Chardonnay and it's Cabernet, and you come to Croatia and you have just things that you've never ever tasted before. Amazing." And so if you look at all this authentic stuff that we have that you can't get anywhere else, and Croatia, they have food festivals which are out of this world. There is in Castella, you have a fava bean festival, and you have ice cream from beans. Okay, in Ontoir, you have the lavender festival. I've had lavender ice cream. You have the pukiada.
Sorry. Could we go just the next slide, please?
Yeah, sure. Sorry. Okay.
One more.
One more. Yeah.
Yeah. We have all a big heart for Croatia.
Yeah.
And you opened a lot of fantastic opportunities for us who are working in tourism, or want to make a profession in tourism, or want to deal with the tourism. Here we have a very young people, and on the other side we have also people who wants to work once in the tourism. And I would invite them that in our last 10 minutes, I'm sorry that I have to break it, but I would like them to maybe to give you some questions
no problem.
And to ask you something.
Okay.
Somebody?
I have a question.
Somebody here has a question. Please come here.
Yeah. Why do English tourists go to Catalonia and to Croatia?
I will repeat the question. Was why Brits are going to Catalonia for camping and not coming to Croatia?
Why Brits are going to Catalonia and not to Croatia?
Yeah, for camping, because we are learning camping management.
Oh, I see. I didn't know that was true. I mean, I know that camping is very strong in Istria, and it's very strong for the German market and the Slovenian market. But it's a good question. You know, Brits and camping in Croatia doesn't seem to go together, to be honest. Yeah, it's a really good point. And I think what, in order to find out the answer, I think you need to do a study of what's happening in Catalonia and what is it that's attracting Brits there, and why is it not coming here? Because it's okay to, if you see something that works in a different destination and it doesn't work in your destination, find out why, and then find out how can you offer something better. And to be honest, you know, it's a really good question, because I've never really made the connection between Brits and camping in Croatia, because you know, they're either retired people, or their families, or they're young people that come to party. Yeah, it's I don't know the answer.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. If anybody has a question for Mr. Paul Bradbury, you can put it in the chat, or just tell us. Somebody else? A question?
Can I go again?
That's okay.
Next question, yeah.
You already said that. What do you like the most about Hvar?
What did you like the most about Hvar? This was the question.
Well, I like most about Hvar. I mean, just the relaxed nature of life, I actually preferred winter on Hvar to summer, because I mean, summer's beautiful, everybody's swimming and so on, but in winter, the island's empty, the nature is really, really beautiful. And just everybody's busy during the season, and then after the season, people have time, so it's a nice time to catch up with local people. But the nature was just incredible, you know, and the pace of life was just very relaxed, and there was no real stress at all, and just the way of life there was really, really amazing.
Thank you, Paul. Do we have any other questions for Paul, maybe?
I have a question.
Okay.
What do you think about Croatian language? How do you manage with Croatian language? Is it hard to learn? Are you trying? Okay.
Yeah, well, I would say that, and I mean this honestly, that Croatia is the most logical language I've ever learned, which may seem a crazy thing to say, but before I came to Croatia, I spoke Russian quite fluently, and Russian and Croatian are very similar Slavic languages. But everything about Croatian, if you learn a few rules, like for example, Afrika u Africi, so Kurt goes to Citi, and Grah and Grashi and so on. If you learn those rules, everything else is logical, and the way you pronounce Croatian is unbelievable. Because my daughter, when she learned to read Croatian in one day, and then I gave her a word, I said, you know, pass, and she would like put asa, and then I said, okay, like kucha, and then she did all that, and then I was like strpljenja, and she was like, and she got it absolutely right, because what you hear is what you write down. And so from that point of view, but I would say the thing that destroys Croatian language are the dialects. So when I lived in Jelsa on Hvar, and I thought I was learning Croatian. And then I went to Zagreb and I started speaking, and people had no idea what I was talking about, because I was speaking Jelsa dialects, not Croatian.
Yeah, sometimes we don't even understand each other. So
yeah, no, exactly. And it's a little bit similar in the UK, but nothing like Croatian. And you know, like for example, I was with my punica, you know, she's great, and I was in Split, and I came back and I said, oh, I learned a new word today, and she's like, what's that? And I said, štipunica, and she's like, what's that? And I was like, so I explained, it's when you put your laundry out, you put this thing of štipunica. It goes, štipelka, and she'd never heard the word štipunica, which was in Split, and she's in Jelsa. So if you're a foreigner, what's the point of learning Croatian? Classical Croatian, yes, but all these dialects, they really are a problem and stuff. So yeah, but it's a beautiful language, and I love the way you all your swear words, all your bad words, you're the best in the world at all those jebigas and everything else. It's fantastic.
We have one question in our chat.
Yeah.
It says, how does your TCN team feel about being one of the best Croatian influencers? P.S. Thank you for all positive stories you are writing about.
Oh, thank you. I wouldn't. I mean, that's a very nice thing to hear. I wouldn't necessarily think that we're particularly big influencers. I think what we love what we do, and we see a lot of beauty in Croatia. We see a lot of problems, and when I don't believe in just because if we write negative stories, we get more clicks. That's just human nature. But I don't believe in just being negative. If I'm going to criticize something, I'm going to offer a solution as well. So I call it constructive criticism. Like portals like Index, I'm a good friend of Matija Babic, but I think they're just negative sometimes. And if we influence a few people, that would be great. You know, I get lots of negative comments. I get more negative comments about what we do because we are critical. But it's always nice to hear, especially from young people, that they've decided to stay in Croatia or something like that. And if anybody's interested, we do have an intern program. It's not very professional because we're not very professional, but we've had a few interns and stuff. And if you're interested, then we're more than happy to just contact me, and we can take a look at your CV, and we can do a little bit of work together and try on some assignments and stuff. And that, you know, we can teach you a little bit about what it's like working in a news portal. I wouldn't say we're a classic news portal because it's me myself. I decided how we do all this. So, but we've had about 8 interns so far, and 2 of them are now working with us. 2 of them have got full-time jobs with us, so they're working with us now. And we're looking for people that are willing to be part of a team, are willing to pursue things on their own, that maybe need some help, that are good at video, that are good at writing, some translation. And what we normally do is we have an internship of 3 months, which is unpaid. And we can agree if it's 20 hours a week or 10 hours a week, whatever you have. And then after the 3 months, if things go well, then we can go on to a student contract and so on. So if anybody's interested in that, then please contact us, and then we can talk. And we all work remotely, so you can be anywhere really. So if you're in Rijeka or Istria or Zabok or anywhere, that's fine.
Fantastic. I think all the students heard that. We have another question. Hi, Paul, said Blanca. Can we get the video? I would like to write something about the meetup. Maybe you remember, I already wrote about you. Hvar and all the way of playing for Agro Club. Thank you in advance.
Okay, yeah. Okay, you'll be publishing the video online, I guess.
Yeah. Yes, the video, sorry for jumping in. I will stop the recording now, just a second.
Okay.